Okay, out of all of the ridiculous trade ideas that we have come across on our social media feeds over the past few weeks, some rooted in reality, others not so much, this might be the funniest of them all. You see, I was scrolling on the Canucks subreddit and I stumbled upon this post made by Latra Samir 3791. You can't see it right now, but the post is on the Canucks sub. It asks this: should the Vancouver Canucks retrade for Arturs Silovs? And of course, this is just an image of the thing here. If you click on the image, it'll take you to this link, an article published by Jackson Weber on NHLTradeTalk.com from November 24th, 2025. Now, we have used NHL Trade Talk for some of our NHL Trade Talks here on the YouTube channel in the past, but you might be thinking to yourself, okay, what a ridiculous, stupid, nonsensical idea. Why would anybody even think about this? Well, this might indeed be stupid and nonsensical, but I do think that the opportunity to read about what's going on actually does give us a reasonable conversation opportunity here that I thought would be pretty fun and interesting. So let's go out there and read this piece, just take a look at what's going on in Pittsburgh, and then analyze whether or not the Vancouver Canucks could actually get involved here. This piece is going to be linked in the description. The Penguins' goaltending surplus could lead to a trade. The Pittsburgh Penguins have 4 NHL-caliber goalies, which could result in a trade sometime soon. Who goes? Now, this article is great because it does give us the scoop, and if you haven't been paying attention to the Pittsburgh Penguins, I'd say this is time to really put those thinking caps on. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in a bit of a crossroads when it comes to their goaltender situation. Tristan Jarry is still around, with 3 young netminders pushing hard behind him in off-season acquisition Arturs Silovs, and talented draft picks in Sergei Murashov and Joel Blomqvist. Jarry's recent injury, which has kept him out of action since November 3rd, has further complicated things, as it's given Murashov the chance to play in the NHL and show he is ready for the big leagues. A return date is not set in stone for Jarry, but it's going to come sooner rather than later. Because of that, Sportsnet insider Elliot Friedman reported he is hearing the Penguins could be a team to watch on the goalie trade market. Now, I just wanted to say, I don't know if the article is fully up to date. I know it was from the 24th, but yesterday we did see ourselves the Pittsburgh Penguins play off in a pretty star-studded matchup against the Buffalo Sabres. They won 4-2, and guess what? That old Tristan Jarry had a .935 save percentage. He returned. He's back. And the fact is, Artie Party Arturs Silovs was the de facto backup in that contest. And right now, when you look at the Pittsburgh Penguins and their roster, I mean, there are a number of guys that can be tossed around there as legitimate goaltending options for this team in the short term. You just look at some of the save percentages over here. Jarry at a .914, Murashov at a .912, Silovs at a .907, and then if you go over to Joel Blomqvist, you'll see what he's been able to do in the AHL. Oh, that is not the right Blomqvist. That is Jakob Blomqvist. Let's go out there and look for Joel. Do I have him bookmarked? No, I do not. Here he is. Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. He is not a Swede. He is a Finn. Very different over there, but he's got a .952 save percentage this year in 3 AHL games, which is pretty solid, if I do say so myself. Last year, in the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, Blomqvist did get lit up towards the end there, but he did have some good games. I mean, a .957 against Philadelphia stands out, not to mention some of the earlier games he had to open up last season. .941 versus Washington, .920 in a shutout loss against Edmonton, .929 against Buffalo. He was really solid last year. And Sergei Murashov has been pretty solid too. I picked him up in fantasy earlier in the month as a streaming option, and he ended up getting me some points, so I'm very happy with how he has been performing. But let's go back over onto the article and read what Elliot Friedman said about Pittsburgh and their goaltending situation. We were talking about teams who have goalies available. I got a note from someone who said, "You left out a team," and they said the Penguins. This person said to me, if you look at it, at its base, they've got Jari, Silovs, who's played very well for them, they've got Murashov, who's been up there while Jari's hurt, and the fans love him, and the organization likes him. He's a really talented, young goalie, and you also have Blomqvist, who has been injured for a while in the AHL, but was one of their top goalies last year. So Pittsburgh has 4 guys. Now, with this in mind, it does open the door to there potentially being an odd man out with Pittsburgh. In an ideal world, it would make sense for Kyle Dubas and company to find a suitor for Jari, given that his age and contract don't really match up with the Penguins' timeline. When healthy, he was at the top of his game to start 25-26, and that could result in teams around the league being open to taking a chance on the 2-time All-Star. The Oilers and Canadiens immediately come to mind as contenders that have struggled mightily at the position and are in need of an upgrade. Whether or not a deal comes to fruition anytime soon remains in question, but what has become clear is that Murashov is the Penguins' future in net, so any of the other 3 netminders are probably available to be had for the right package in return. So, Edmonton? Montreal? This, of course, is its own conversation, but I wanted to focus on that Vancouver article, or not article, but that Reddit post. Retrade for Artie Party Arturs Silovs? Understandably, this post doesn't have many upvotes. With the Canucks' recent goaltending troubles, do you think a trade for Silovs is a good idea? If yes, what would you trade to get him back? The top reply says the Penguins won't trade Silovs, and he also likes having a practice facility. Also, the Canucks cannot reacquire him via a trade until July 2026, per the CBA. He is gone, he is happy, move on, it's over. Sell at 50 cents on the dollar, buy at $1.50. You are a Vancouver Canucks fan. OP destined to be the next Canucks GM. Obviously, it is not ideal in the slightest to look at a guy who was traded from Vancouver and say, just a few months later, hey, let's trade for him again. It's not like Edmonton's doing that, right? It's not like they're doing the exact same thing with Evander Kane, right? But either way, Artie Party Arturs Silovs does provide a pretty good glimmer of hope for what the future could hold in Pittsburgh goaltending. Sergei Murashov is the guy long-term, but Arturs Silovs provides some good value too. He's at a .907 save percentage in 11 games. Admittedly, he has taken a little bit of a dump lately. .600 save percentage against the Minnesota Wild last week, but he had a whole bunch of really positive games before that. .933 against Nashville, .958 against New Jersey, .941 against Philly, .958 against Vancouver, and then of course he opened up the season with a shutout against the Rangers, 25 shots against and 25 saves. Artie Party Arturs Silovs is doing very well. And whether or not there could be some sort of a trade done with Pittsburgh netminders and a team like Edmonton or Montreal, it does remain to be seen. But one thing's probably for sure. The Vancouver Canucks are probably not getting involved in Arturs Silovs trade talks unless, of course, they decide to overpay and completely admit that the situation at hand is something that they messed up on. And then what happens when Lankinen comes back? Then what happens when Demko comes back? Tolapilo's looking pretty good. I guess Vancouver just has this thing where their AHL goaltenders actually show off very well when given first-time NHL minutes. Tolopilo, Silovs, I guess Patera is the only outlier there. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this ridiculous idea of Vancouver potentially trading back for Arturs Silovs. Do you think there is a goaltending trade to be had between the Penguins, the Oilers, and the Habs? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.